Alright. So, I kind of wanted to do a commentary for some Raz Prog, kind of thought process as a Frost Mage. Kind of when I'm using cooldowns, when I'm using defensive, things like that. So I'm going to go over one of these, one of our polls from this last night. Kind of going over what I did. Not really going over any, like, plan things, because we obviously haven't killed it, so I don't really know everything for the full fight yet. But kind of just going over my thought process for things of what I'm doing now. So we are doing a strat where you skip the 5th wind. So we do need a certain amount of single target damage. So starting off, I always bury your pre-pull, go into your pre-cast Frostbolt into Flurry, and then Ice Lance. My main thing that's probably going to be different on most of the pulls is because you only get, I want to say it's either 2 or 3, I don't remember exactly the number. You end up having to hold your orb at the end of Raz for P1. So I actually think it's worth, on pull, instead of proc munching your Ice Lances with your Frozen Orb, keep sending your Frostbolt Flurries until you're out of Flurry. So you see, I'm still casting Frostbolt Flurries. At this point, I threw the orb because I knew I was gonna be moving because the first sparks go out, or the first bombs. So I knew I wanted to have some movement, even though I am running Ice Flows. I don't want to use all my Ice Flows to getting into my position. So I threw orb here so that I had Fingers of Frost procs running to my position. Now I rune here at the start. Obviously, it is 20 seconds into the fight, so it's a little late on a rune. The only reason I'm doing this is because if I possibly get the first set of bombs, I have to get further out in the group. So I have to end up leaving my rune. So that's the reason why I'm not using it on cooldown. I probably do end up losing a use of Frozen Orb throughout the fight. Now for this one as well, you also talent into Ring of Frost. The way that Ring of Frost works for all of these sparks, especially on Mythic difficulty, it's going to be something you need. If you're standing on the outer edge of Ring of Frost, so both me and our Arcane Mage are running Ring of Frost. If you're standing on the outer edge, so like I am here, like you see it, I'm standing on the outer edge, it actually interrupts the burst cast from the sparks. So that's something that's very beneficial for Raz, both on any difficulty, but obviously more so in Mythic, because there's a lot more interrupts that need to be going out. Fortunately, I don't really have to do too many interrupts with the area I'm in, but... so for my idea of 4 wins, as a Frost Mage, especially as a Frost Mage not taking Shimmer, my options are kind of limited. I did end up deciding that I'm going to be ice blocking 2 of the wing knockbacks. So how that works for anybody that has any sort of immunity like that is it actually negates the knockback completely, and you can, as long as you cast the ability before the wings go off, you get no knockback and can immediately cancel it. So that's why I'm doing that for this. This first one, I actually end up using my way of getting out of the wing knockback is I alter time here. So you see I already used it. It's now turned blue. It'll obviously show up in my True-Fi GCD here in a sec. I alter time. I ride the knockback back while casting Frostbolt. I blink, and then as soon as the wing pushback is about to end, I alter time, and I'll end right back up here. So you saw me, I blinked, and then I alter timed, and now I'm going into the typical rotation. This is the spot where you want to use your second hero as Frost Mage. This is also the spot where I like to use Shifting Power, just so I actually get that cooldown on hero. You could use this prior, but I don't think you really get as much value out of it prior, because you're, at least for me, because I'm already holding my Shifting Power, or my rune, and you don't want a Shifting Power during your rune on single target, you want to do it for after. So I'm doing my Shifting Power here, because obviously everything was on cooldown. My rune's on cooldown, my Frozen Orb's on cooldown, and my Icy Vein still isn't up yet. I also used Shifting Power here to get Icy Vein's cooldown back, because obviously, like I said, it's not fully back yet. And then I use my second Icy Veins here when we're stacked. So this is a minute into the fight, and I have my second Icy Veins. Now, I do have Rune up. I'm not going to Rune the second it comes up because Wings is going to happen, and immediately after the Wing pushback becomes another set of Sparks. So I actually get to my Spark location first before I pop my Rune. And I also will be Ice Blocking the second one. So my choice was I'm Ice Blocking the second and the fourth Wing pushbacks. So you see, I Ice Blocked for the Wing pushback, and then I immediately come out of Ice Block. And I immediately start casting. I have my Rune of Power now casted. So like I said, if you have Ice Block the second that the Wing pushback starts, you don't get any of the knockback, and you don't get the dot either. Obviously, if you Ice Block after it, in case it's like a second or two so far, you obviously lose the knockback and you lose the dot, but you can always just immune it prior. Have a good one, Baboon. So again, Ring of Frost here on your Spark location. Now, anytime I get the sparks, the bombs, I typically I have almost all of my defensives for it because I'm not using my defensives in other spot. If I get the first one, I typically Barrier and Mirror Image. If I get the second one, I typically Barrier and Image. If I get one of the ones where I don't have images up, I will always Chi Invis. And you should really never get any more than 2 of them, so you should have Barrier, Mirror Image for one, and you should have Chi Invis for another. Here, I actually got cocooned by our Mistweaver, so I actually didn't use any defensives other than my Barrier, because I knew I was going to be safe. I literally didn't even get... my health didn't even move, so I didn't worry about that. Now, so the third Wings is coming here, so now I'm using my Ice Flows and my procs to move back into the Wing spot, and this is going to be the next set of Wings, the Wing pushback, that I don't have Ice Block for. So my plan for this one is I go in, you see I just popped Alter Time. I Alter Time, mid pushback I Blink, then I Gate, and then I will Alter Time back to this position again. And so you'll see that follow through here. Obviously you want as many casts as you can going off during the pushback so you're not losing any downtime. If you can, you know, a Flurry Proc, Fingers of Frost, anything during this time where you're getting pushback is beneficial. But obviously sometimes you can't help it. So you saw I blinked into a Gate, into Alter Time, and then dodge the breath. I did lose Icy Veins here, so obviously I'm casting a lot slower. Another Spark Time. A way you can help with Sparks, you saw what I just did there. I used Blast Wave. You can see it in my TrueFire GCD. Blast Wave is a very good AoE stun for any of the Sparks. Mage is particularly one of the better classes for this. We have Ring of Frost. We can always get the first one. We have Blast Wave. You can talent into DB if you'd like. Otherwise, just using Blast Wave, you can all your interrupts work. Your Spell Steal works. So at baseline, you will have a minimum of 1 with Interrupt. Interrupt always works. You'll always talent into Spell Steal for Raz, just for the Sparks. And then for Mythic Raz, you'll always have Ring of Frost, or should have Ring of Frost. And then other than that, you'll also have Blast Wave, which is pretty much default as well. So we have 5 different ways of stopping them, along with Dragon's Breath. So here, you want to make sure you're Icy Veinsing basically as soon as you can. So you're getting 3 Icy Veins casts off in P1. You're getting the one on pull. You're getting the one at the 1 minute mark. And then my second one is right about the 2:15 mark. And you're not going to be able to get a third one off because he pushes at 64.9%. So this is the 4th set of wings. This is the 4th wing set. So the 4th wing set is my second Ice Block. So you see I already Cold Snapped and I have my second Ice Block coming back up. I will Ice Block the pushback, and I immediately get out of Ice Block and am casting. This is where I use my next Rune of Power. So again, like I said, I am losing some Rune of Power uptime, but a lot of it is just based on the timing of the fight. I could probably get a little bit better here. I could look back into some VODs and stuff like that and look to see where Rune of Power uptime is best, but it seems like this is the best case where you know you're not going to be moving at all. Unfortunately, I did end up moving here. I got a bomb. And so for this one, since I didn't use Mirror Image for the first one, I'm just going to get out and I'm going to use Barrier and Mirror Image for this one. Barrier, Mirror Image, yep. You can use G-Invis, but not needed. And then when he gets immune, I would recommend just spam casting Frostbolt without using any of your procs. One, you're going to build up your procs, so either your Fingers of Frost or Flurry, but most likely they'll go away before you actually get to the platform. So to spam build, you see I have 4 Icicles here, and Icicles are a minute buff. I should have Shifting Powered here, just to get Icy Veins cooldown up faster. Since I'm not engineering, most people here you see actually land on here, and that's the big circle you see on here, there's this momentum redistributor boots. That's for engineers can do that. I'm not an engineer, so I actually blink to negate any of the fall damage. If you are an engineer, I'd recommend getting the boots, especially for Mythic Raz. If you land on the ad, it basically does AoE damage for a while. It basically just redistributes your fall damage to actually damage to your enemies in that area. But I'm not engineering, so I don't have that. So I would blink the original fallback, and I blink to this position. So I start this pull. Obviously, I don't have Icy Veins, so I start it with Frozen Orb, just because Frozen Orb's duration will last long enough for the actual Flame ad. I guess I'll also go into that. I'm on the Flame ad side versus the Frost ad. It seems like typically Frost Mages have been on Frost ad just because their burst damage isn't great. But I've found that I've been one of the higher players for the Herald damage. I don't think I have great shield damage, but I have very good prio, so I can just spam procs into him at the beginning to get my my flurry procs, my icicles, Freakers of Frost, and stuff like that. So I have pretty good prio damage for the shields. Not great compared to other classes like warriors or arcane mages, but have a good one, Izzy. Or eyes. Oops. So I start so this pack, obviously I said I don't have Icy Veins, so I go into, like I said, I Frozen Orb, into a Blizzard, into Rune of Power. So now that the Flame Herald spawns, I'm targeting the Flame Herald and immediately building my procs. I did get a bomb there, which I didn't use a defensive for. I could have G-Invised, I had Barrier. The only reason I didn't use one is because it was the very first one. I probably should have, something that I need to get better on. Almost always try and use a defensive for every single time you get one of the bombs. So we do have assigned kick markers. You see mine is the one I'm targeting now. I think I actually ended up kicking the Herald ad, just because it was during the breath at the time the shield was going to go down, so I actually kicked it. Obviously I had a successful kick because I have a shorter cooldown. I literally just kicked. But now that since we got the first breath, we are now going to be baiting the second breath. So stay out of melee. Once you bait the breath, you can then move into melee. So we just baited it. We can go into melee. This second ad is the one that I now have Icy Veins for. So going into the pack, this is where you will use Icy Veins. You need to... I don't think I actually did it here. Yeah, I didn't. You should mirror image for the second pack, especially if you're Icy Veining, using Icy Veins. Because mirror image will obviously make you not get any threat from your tanks. So you should start this pack with a pre-mirror image before you even start doing any damage. But again, same starter build that same starting rotation that I did for the first pack. You go into your Frozen Orb, a Blizzard, and then obviously I already had Rune down from Icy Veins. So now you just go into your normal rotation, again focusing the Herald because you actually need to break the shield, and now you're just keeping uptime on Blizzard. It is a little rough for me not having Shimmer for this, especially for intermission, just from the breaths. But obviously I'm able to get through it still, so. Again, since we're now coming the next breath, as you see from the weak aura, we're baiting the breath on us. As soon as the Razsageth spawns, we're gating to the third set. And now, same thing as before. Start with your Blizzard. I didn't have Frozen Orb up, so I started with Blizzard. So now I go to Blizzard, Frozen Orb, and now I'm runing. And again, targeting the Herald. And again, just constant uptime. And then The prio target for these after that is the people that have the acolytes that are casting the Stormbolt. I could gain a little bit more AoE damage. You know, I could drop Soul Seeker Arrow and go Ice Blood Death Snare, the Centaur's Trinket. Wouldn't really recommend that because single target damage is a lot more important for this than AoE damage. But if you're missing out on some AoE and your group is missing it, you could always do that. But I would fully recommend going what I'm going. Now for this portion, you want to make sure as a Frost Mage that you have Rune and Frozen Orb for every single shield break. You need your Orb because you're getting your Fingers of Frost procs, so you're guaranteed to have some burst damage for the shields in terms of both Orb and your Fingers of Frost procs, and then you also need to have your Rune. So you see here, I have Icy Veins up. I'm holding my Icy Veins until I actually get in position for Storm Surge, because I obviously want the dropped Rune. So we have our negatives going to the center. So I get to the center and I immediately pop it, and then throw my Frozen Orb. So this is just immediately getting me all of my Fingers of Frost procs. The one thing that I am doing here that's a little different than normal is I am not casting Frostbolt into my flurry. I'm just free sending flurries without shattering my Frostbolts. A lot of it is because you actually just need that shorter burst damage, and it also because I have my Frozen Orb out currently, so I'm going to be overcapping on Fingers of Frost procs, so I'm trying to just get as much damage as I can out as quick as possible while I have both Rune out and I'm potting. So you pot during this phase as well, the first one. So you can also... I use my second Rune of Power here. So I got my first one from Icy Veins, obviously, and now I'm using my Rune of Power for this one. As you can see, I'm actually doing relatively decent damage for a Frost Mage. We obviously missed the shield. Not great, obviously, but it happens. We had a lot of people die. I think we had an inverted that got messed up, but other than that, that's basically my Frost Mage ideas so far for P1 going into P2. We're still progging. I think we're like 180 pulls or something into Raz. But P1 intermission are some of the hardest ones. So now after that, we're now into P2 prog. So yeah, my suggestions for P2 is obviously you need both Rune and Orb for every single shield. Sometimes you're gonna get screwed over. You're gonna get inverted every time that you pop your Rune down. It's just gonna happen. It feels shit, understandably, but you know, you have to do it. You have to get out of there, or else you obviously wipe. That's how everybody wiped it to begin with. But yeah, that's kind of my ideas for Frost Mage, where we're using our cooldowns, or at least where I'm using my cooldowns for P1. Relatively throughout the night, I'm top 3 in basically every single pull for P1 damage for Razsageth. I think throughout the night, I think I ended up being like second or so. But yeah, that is my that's my commentary so far for a Frost Mage commentary on Raz, and I will keep you guys updated on how our progress goes. And obviously, as soon as we get the kill, I'll obviously put out a commentary video for my point of view and my commentary for that. So yeah, that'll be all for this, and thank you.